Hi, welcome to Inside the Lines. I'm Lizzie Arbogast alongside Ryan Gallagher. We are here for week 8 of the football season. It is hard to believe that we are in the finish line. I mean, we're 3 weeks away.
Yeah, we're closing up, and a lot of the playoff race is kind of determined. So a lot of the teams are just playing for pride at this point, and
which is something to play for, I think.
I think it's something to play for. Pride is important, but you also want to see what you can start working towards next season. Maybe try to throw some new wrinkles in your game plan, see where you guys are going to be going.
Absolutely, I would agree with that. First up, we're going to start with our game of the week, which is Calera headed to Benjamin Russell. Benjamin Russell officially eliminated from the playoffs last week with their loss to Wetumpka. That is their last region game. At this point, Benjamin Russell is also fighting for a 500 season. They haven't had a below 500 season since 2016, I believe. So they really want to get these last 2 wins and finish 5-5.
Well, just when the offense was starting to pick up and the run game was starting to pick up and they were showing a little bit of balance on offense, the defense has kind of not shown up and done their part the last couple of weeks, and that's just not very uncharacteristic of Benjamin Russell the last couple of years. It's been all defense, and then where's the offense been? And it's finally Eureka with the offense.
Right.
Where's the defense at? So they just got to find that balance. Maybe it's guys getting worn out playing the offense some, so they just got to find their balance. And they got eliminated last week. It was kind of painful. Were they able? Didn't they make a run in the second half? We were listening to me and Santana listened to it on the radio.
Yeah, it was a good game in the second half. It was one of those things, and I said it. I think my keys to the game were they can't let Wetumpka score on the first drive, which they did, and they can't go down 14. They can't go down by 2 touchdowns at any point, which they did after
in the first 2 minutes.
In the first 2 or 3 minutes, and then they lost by 13 points. So it was tough to see kind of how they went out. 'Cause like you said, their offense started to finally click a little bit, but it was those first 2 minutes, and it was already, unreachable. But this is a game that they should be able to win. Calera only has 1 win on the season, and this is a team that they should be able to take advantage of.
All right, this is a feel-good game, and you just want to end the season on a positive note and send your seniors out winners.
Absolutely, for sure. Dadeville is headed to Beulah. Also, the Tigers are eliminated from playoff contention, but they're in the same boat. They've got 2 games that are winnable left on the docket, starting with Beulah. It was, I think, a 3-win. Did we decide they're 3?
3 wins.
A 3-win team, but they're not overpowering. Their wins are against not such great teams. So I think this is one of those things: is which Dadeville team is going to show up has been the big thing throughout the season for them.
Well, I covered the game this past week, and they held up real good on defense in the first half, and then it was all of a sudden it was a penalty. It was a field goal that Pike Road attempted. It was no good, but they roughed the kicker, so it gave them an automatic first down. They scored 2 plays later, I believe, and then they kicked the ball off, and then there was miscommunication, and they thought that the rest of the guys thought it went to the end zone. It didn't, and then Pike Road just came down and recovered it inside the 10. So then they were up all of a sudden within 10 seconds on the scorecard. They're down 14.
Right.
So then it's all the game plan, which is always for Dadeville, which is always running the ball. And that's where their bread and butter is. It kind of goes out the window, right? And they went with Lane Smith, and they put the ball in his hands, and it's immediately an interception. And then it's down 21-0, and now they have to throw it. Like it was, okay, we're going to throw it, so maybe open up the run a little bit, but now it's like we have to throw it to get back in the game. Right. And then he throws a pick 6, and then you're down 28-0. It just snowballed really fast for Dadeville.
Exactly. And that's one thing I talked to Coach White about was what you said earlier about, starting to build for the future. They have a lot of young guys that are playing. And so he's at the point of trying to find that balance between giving the seniors, obviously, their time, but also realizing, the difference between 3-7 and 1-9 is not really that big of a difference. Right. But they need something morale-wise to get these kind of younger guys seeing, hey, we can win, we can compete, get them to come back out, those kinds of things. So I think it'll be a balancing act of playing the seniors and playing the younger guys, and hopefully being able to get a victory this week at Beulah.
Right.
Hopefully. Fayetteville ushers in Horseshoe Bend.
Other way around.
Reverse that. Horseshoe Bend ushers in Fayetteville. It's actually Horseshoe Bend's homecoming week. They're the last team in Tallapoosa County to have their homecoming. So that will be exciting. And Horseshoe Bend has all but been eliminated from the playoffs. If they beat Fayetteville beats Vincent, then it comes down to tiebreakers. It would be a weird situation. And assuming nothing else crazy happens, that's how it would play out. But they have to win this game. Number one, then rely on somebody else to do something. And Fayetteville is certainly, it's a winnable game.
Yeah, very much so. In Horseshoe Bend, they just gotta do what they've been doing, control the time of possession. They've been able to put up points the last couple weeks, which is very encouraging to see from them.
Yeah. And they passed the ball more last week, which I like to see. They had some questionable refereeing stuff going on as well that really kind of killed them. But they did look really good offensively when they put the ball in the air a little bit more.
They're just not lucky when it comes to refereeing, I guess. That's kind of been biting them all year. But yes, that's what we talked about all year, which just we just wanted to see them put the ball in the air just maybe a couple more times a game, just to open up that run game for them a little bit more. And even though it hasn't really shown to W's on the chart, it's showing to that they're scoring points, and that just makes your guys feel better. It's one thing to lose 42 to 28. It's one thing, and it's a whole other thing to lose 42 to nothing. It's just
absolutely
totally different sides of the spectrum when it comes to something like that.
Yeah, and they have an incredibly young team. I mean, they have only a couple of seniors. Most of them don't play a lot. Most of their skill guys are really young. Their offensive line is really young. So I think they're really building toward something that could be successful. And we saw a good mix of Cole Johnson and Holt Tidwell both playing quarterback last week. And so I think we'll continue to see that. They just got to watch out for the big play. I felt like they were in that game all the way, and then they let Vincent score. I don't know what it ended up being, like a 75-yard touchdown.
It was an 84-yard touchdown.
Yeah, and then it was just kind of like the wind was taken out of their sails. So if they can avoid that against Fayetteville, I think this could be a good game for the Generals.
All right, and that's just one thing that some of the people in the area need to understand is these are young football teams that we have in our area, and that's why they are struggling so much. So we did a thing about it. The whole preseason was basically about how all the quarterbacks in our area are sophomores, and so it's just going through these growing pains. And Dadeville their whole team is basically sophomores. They only have a handful of seniors and 11th graders on their team, so they're going to be good in a couple years, and they're just going through the process. Horseshoe Bend, they're going to be good in a couple years, I believe, well.
I agree. Central Coosa hosts Lafayette. Probably going to be another rough game for the Cougars. They just can't keep up with these high-scoring teams like Lafayette. Can put up a lot of numbers. And I believe, if I'm not incorrect about this, Lafayette is, if they win, they guarantee a home playoff spot. So they have a lot to play for, whereas Coosa doesn't really have much to play for, being that they're winless on the season.
Right, you got a team that has everything to play for and a team that has nothing to play for. Well, it's not everything from the sense that they're already in the playoffs, I believe. They're fighting for home field, but the home field makes a huge difference. There's just nothing like playing at home versus going away. It's just your routine, your fan base mostly. It's just
makes a huge difference. Still questionable as to whether Dante Daniel will return for the Cougars, but obviously that really hurt them against Reeltown. Reeltown was up, I don't even remember what it was, 38 to nothing at the end of the first quarter. So I would expect another tough one against Lafayette. Last game on the docket is Reeltown is ushering in Vincent, which I got the chance to see last week against Horseshoe Bend, and they were actually a lot better than I expected. They've won 2 games in a row against Coosa, then against Horseshoe Bend last week, and I think this could be a better test than what Reeltown has faced in the last week or two.
Right. Well, they had that game against Thorsby.
Yeah.
That was the game that was a lot of refereeing not going their way. Kind of coming out stale after getting their biggest win, maybe their program's history in the past 10 years probably.
Right.
And so they had a huge win and they were just in a lull. And then this past week playing Coosa, that's a big confidence boost builder. But like you just said, they're going to have to show up. This isn't just going to be you can roll out of bed and play. You're going to have to come prepared for this game.
Yeah, the thing I was most impressed about with Vincent is just how huge they are. I mean, they are insanely across the front. I mean, they're huge. They're probably averaging maybe 270, maybe 6 feet across the front. Right. So they're really big, especially for a 2A team. They've got a good combination of a huge running back. I mean, he's 6'3", 260 probably. Moves fairly well, and then a guy who won the gold medal for the 100-meter dash. So kind of fast, but that's hard to defend. When you've got 2 guys who are so completely different. So I think Reeltown, like you said, they can't overlook this game. And I think with Thorsby they sort of got a little complacent. I looked at the record, and didn't thought they could just easily beat
Right, we're
them.
real town. We're undefeated. We can come out here and just win this game.
Right.
Like, you have to, they realize, and you saw it. You see it this past week. They realize they got to show up now and putting
Right.
up what you said, 38 against Coosa in the first quarter.
Yeah.
That's impressive, and that just means that they're back on track where they need to be. But Vincent, they pulled away with Horseshoe Bend with that 84-yard touchdown we just talked about in the fourth quarter. So they're playing until the end.
Yeah.
So they're not going to give up on the game. So they need to.
And Vincent's fighting for its playoff spot. You know, if it wins, then it guarantees itself a playoff spot.
Right.
And so there's a lot on the line. Railtown's looking for its second straight undefeated season in the region. So I expect that to be kind of closer than maybe people are expecting.
Right.
So hopefully should be we have a slate of winnable, aside from Central Coosa, we have a slate of winnable games, which last week I felt like we had a slate of losable games. It was not good across the board for Tallapoosa County. So hopefully this week we'll get a little bit better. I'm hoping that I'll have Scott join us live for Clear at Benjamin Russell on Friday night for Inside the Lines Live. So look out for that. And we are almost done. We're in the home stretch.
I don't know what I'm going to do the rest of the year. It's
I know.
boring.
It's kind of bittersweet. Although basketball starts on Monday for me, so
Okay.
you know, we always got something to look forward to. So thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you on Friday night.